Hello, my name is Henriette and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'd love to have you here. In this video, I want to show you just how easy it is to grow your own vegetables. This is our Montana Clematis. Isn't that just stunning at the moment? As you'll see in this video, the weather in London is very unsettled. It's sunny one day and very cold the next. I'm going to start outside in our raised beds first, and I'm going to start off with Sugarsnap peas. I tend to follow the instructions on the packets. They're really clear and it tells you exactly when to plant them and how to plant them. There are just so many things that I love about growing your own vegetables. I mean, first of all, the taste is so much better, and also you can ensure that they are organic. These Sugarsnap peas are going to need something that they can climb onto, and I'm just using bamboo sticks and a bit of twine, keeping it affordable. I've already prepared these raised beds by adding some fresh soil or compost and giving them a good feed. I love using Sugarsnap peas in salads and things like that, but I also love just picking them and eating them as I pass. Well, the weather got the better of me and I decided to come into the greenhouse instead, nice and warm. I'm going to start off by repotting our cucumbers. They've done ever so well since we planted the seeds. Now these ones, they did so well that both the seeds came up, which means I'm going to have to separate them. When you separate seedlings like this, be ever so gentle, because they're so young and very easy to damage. We are growing both long and short cucumbers. Once they're all done, I'll place them on the ground. They'll be fine down here. And all I need to do now is give them something to climb onto, just like the Sugarsnap peas. Now I know you can buy these metal obelisk structures for your peas and cucumbers to climb onto. However, I think it's just as fine using just bamboo sticks and a bit of twine. As with all your plants or vegetables, you need to make sure they're watered well. Not too much, but watered well. Don't let them go dry. I'll also need to separate our broccoli. Now these ones will eventually go outside straight into the ground, and they'll be ready to eat in January. These young broccoli seedlings are ever so fragile, so I'm being extra careful as I separate them and put them into individual pots. They look ever so small now, but it won't be long before they're big, strong plants. We've also done really well with our tomatoes, and again I need to separate them. Now we're growing lots of different types of tomatoes. There's nothing like a bit of variety. Now I know we have a greenhouse here, but you don't need one to do any of this. You can start your seeds off indoors and then eventually plant them out when there's no more frosts. In fact, we don't even plant our tomatoes out. We keep them in these larger pots until they're ready to harvest. It's the next day, and would you believe it, it's like summer in London. I've done ever so well with my repotting, but I've still got some courgettes that need some bigger pots in order for them to thrive. I'm always so amazed at how quickly a little seed can grow. These ones were planted only a few weeks ago, and look at them now and how many roots they've got. We aim to grow enough vegetables for us to use throughout the summer and also into the winter. However, we do end up feeding the neighbourhood. We also grow our own onions. So we grow red onions, white onions and spring onions. Now I've very early on learnt to buy the sets instead of the seeds because you get much bigger onions. Plant them so that they just stick out of the ground. Our first early potatoes are ready to come outside as I need the room in the greenhouse. We also grow carrots, and there's nothing more joyous than pulling a carrot out of the ground. It may look like I'm putting a lot of seeds in the ground here, but carrot seeds are so small I don't have any other option. And what will happen is, as the seedlings grow up, I'll thin them out. As always, I'll make sure that I give them a good watering in. I'm also going to plant up some sweet corn. Now I really love sweet corn because I feel they are giving twice. First of all, you get to eat the sweet corn, and secondly, you get to use the husks for Halloween. I like to prepare loads of pots first of all, and then I can just make a little hole and pop all the seeds in. I've never managed to get 100% success rate with sweet corn, so if any of you have got any advice, I would love to hear it. Here is a little sweet corn that my mother-in-law planted a few weeks ago. I'm going to pop them on this little shelf and hope that they do well. I'm also going to start off some pumpkins. Now this year I opted for some zombie pumpkins and some normal big ones. The most important thing about pumpkin seeds is that you need to plant them on their sides. I'm going to plant up quite a lot because I know that they won't all come up. I'm just going to start the pumpkins off in the greenhouse, and it's the same with the sweet corn, but eventually they will be planted out straight into the ground. I don't grow pumpkins for eating them. I grow them for Halloween, and they are so satisfying because they get so big. I mean, it feels like a proper harvest when you pick those. I wanted to show you how you nip your tomato plants. You do it in order to get a better harvest. Now all you do is take the top shoot from each branch, just nip it away, and that way ensure that the plant focuses on the main branches. This is such a satisfying job to do because your fingers smell of tomatoes. I am going to stake this tomato as well. It will need some support because it gets very heavy when the tomato starts coming. Once it's flowered, I will start feeding it with Tomorite. I'll link it below. My last job in the greenhouse is to feed our grape. Now I've topped it up first of all with some fresh compost. Now that will make it happy. But I also give it a good feed. We do actually get grapes from this plant, beautiful purple grapes, which are edible. I showed you our 300-year-old cedar tree in the last video, but what I didn't show you is what it gives us. This time of year, the top of the cones drop off, and they're absolutely stunning, and I'll be using those for my Christmas decorations. It is raining again, so I've decided to come inside instead, and guess what? It's time to bake a cake. Now this time I want to show you how to make a red velvet cake that is successful every time. This recipe is by Jane's Patisseries, and I'll be sure to drop a link below. If you follow this recipe to a T, then there's no failing. I chose to bake this cake today because it's my son's girlfriend's favourite cake, and she's due to pop over tomorrow. Did you know that the red velvet cake was first served in Manhattan's Waldorf Astoria? There seems to be some disputes as to whether this was first served in the 1920s or in the 1930s. Either way, it's still a very popular cake even until this day. Although it wasn't always like that. During the 70s, they decided that this cake was bland, and it didn't actually get a comeback until Steel Magnolia came around. This was in 1989. Due to its beautiful deep red colour, of course this cake is also very popular on Valentine's Day. I can't stress enough how important it is to buy a good food colouring when you bake this cake. Now I use Sugarflair Red Extra food colouring. It is a little bit on the expensive side, but it's really worth it because it doesn't have any nasty taste attached to it. The cake tins you can see here are 8 inches in diameter. You know, I bought this little cat timer in Copenhagen about 15 years ago, and I still absolutely adore it. When they've come out of the oven, I tend to leave them to cool down for about 10 minutes before I take the cakes out of the tins. I leave them on a wire rack until they're completely cool. Whilst my cake is cooling, I decided it might be a good idea to write down exactly what we put into each of the raised beds. Now it's important to do this because I want to make sure that we rotate our crop every year. Different plants use different nutrients in order to grow. I'm going to put this note in the bottom of my seed box. Now this is a new box, but I chose it because I kind of like the colour. It reminds me of spring and growing. I'm going to have a quick sort out of my seeds as well to make them a lot easier to find. Now make sure you store your seeds in a dry, dark and cool place. My cake is cool and I'm going to get started with the frosting. Now I know you can buy ready-made frosting, however I like to make my own. It's only 4 ingredients and I also know that there are no preservatives. I like using Philadelphia in my frosting, however any full-fat soft cheese will do. This is my favourite bit of cake baking. I love decorating and making things look pretty, as you probably know by now. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been so much fun making it, and if you have, I'll be very grateful if you'd like, subscribe and comment. I love hearing from you. I like piping my frosting onto the cake. I think it makes it look a lot more professional somehow instead of spreading it. To finish it off, I'm just going to use some crumbs from the cake and sprinkle them on top. So here it is, all finished, and I think it's such a handsome cake, or pretty cake if you like. My husband and I decided to have a quick slice with a cup of tea. It was just too tempting. I'm going to leave you today with some videos from our greenhouse after I'd finished planting everything up. I hope you enjoy. Have a great week and I'll see you soon. Much love.